Welcome to this short video going over the basics of what you need to know for the installation of an Omara sprung floor, along with a few tips to make your first experience go smoothly. We have a written copy of our instructions that can be made available upon request, which I also recommend you read for more detail. Once your floor is on site, if you have any specific questions, our help is a phone call away. Let's get going on this concrete installation. Ground level concrete requires a 6mm plastic vapor barrier, which we're going to spread out here. You can purchase it in any hardware store. A couple different widths there available, so check that out when you buy it. Here's us just sealing it down to the concrete with some duct tape. Cut it to length, spread it out, tape it down. That's all you gotta do there. We're gonna get you going through this first downstage row. The first downstage row is the most time consuming and most important part of the install. Here's downstage right panel 1. This is going to get put down, the clamps inserted in their clamp slots, and then pushed into the corner for orientation. The downstage right panel is going to get shimmed off the wall 1.5 inches, and then we're going to take a string line and measure out where the floor is going to end up with this orientation of the downstage right panel. So the shim's going against the wall here, checking the cables as always. Here we go, laying out the cables. Very important. You want to lay out the cables before you begin. You always want to check the cables as you go through this installation process. Make sure they're not under any foam. Back to this string line here. We're going to check at the other end. We're looking for 49 inches off the wall here. The 1.5 inch gap plus the 47.5 inch panel depth. We want to end up with that 1.5 inch gap off the wall at the other end of the floor, which is why we use this string line, because it'll show us what's going to happen with our current orientation. Now that we've got the downstage right panel shimmed in place, downstage 2 goes in. Here we have the tap block and sledgehammer, which comes in the installation kit along with many other tools that's meant to close the gaps between panels. You'll see here next we're going to align the panels downstage to upstage. We recommend checking this alignment of the panels with a straight edge, either metal or wood. That wood block would do. You'll see Ed checking it with his fingers, but he has that knowledge of the feel of a few thousandths of an inch. Once this panel is closed up, we will set the next downstage shim and continue. Lock this in with the cedar shims. This shim will split the two panels, so the next panel grabs a piece of this. This is the panel locator, aligning these panels downstage to upstage. Before we continue, we will reset this downstage shim, close the panel, and go on to the next one. You can see Jacob here holding onto the cable as we're putting it down. Keeps the clamp in the slot there. Make sure it's not hooked around any foam blocks. You never want to get to the end of the floor and you didn't check the cables and one of the cables is wrapped around a foam block, and now you've got to take it apart to get back to that spot. You just want to be good about checking your cables. There's a half slot for a half panel in the downstage left corner. It's going to share a panel there. Downstage left panel going in. That'll get shimmed as well. Tapped in place with the panel locator. Then we're going to tighten this cable, stage right to stage left. Ratchet wrenches come with the installation kit. There we go. Quick tighten before we get out the torque wrench. We can get two guys going on these. You can see he's holding his finger on the outside there. Okay, torque wrench. He's clicking it right there. That way you can get a sense of how it breaks. What it sounds like is pretty subtle. We send these out to make sure that you don't overdo the tension. You can overdo the tension on these and bend a clamp or pop a crimp off. Here we're getting these panels ready for the next row. Staging them against the wall. We've got the proper lean angle going. Every panel has a marking on the back. that marking corresponds with a floor print number. DSR 1 is downstage right, 1. DS2, DS3, DS4. Then you get to an SR, which is stage right, and then we'll get into the U's. So just check your floor print to figure out where the panel goes. You want to spend the time that it takes to get this downstage row tapped together, aligned properly, because once you have it all set and locked in place, the rest of the floor should go smoothly. There we are with the second row. You can see how some cables go in the middle of the panel, and then on the next row it splits a seam. Here we are, Ed's on the floor telling me how much farther I need to tap the panel in, closing the gaps here before the next row goes in. There it is, folks. There's the installation start. Once you get that downstage row in and everything tight, then each row goes in fairly smoothly after that, tapping it into place, closing the gaps, and then tightening each row as you go. You get to that last upstage row and you'll tighten the downstage to upstage cables. And that is it. You've got an Omeros Spring Floors installed, ready to go. This is a birch floor that you see, raw birch. It'll get covered with vinyl after the floor is installed. We also do offer maple and ash pre-finished floors, so once the panels are in, you are done. Please give us a call if you have any questions. We can give you a quote for your space. We do custom size flooring so we can fit any space that you have.